Well, you may know her as Miss Universe, Tim Tebow's wife, and now as a mom-to-be. Today I have Demi-Leigh Tebow with me. And this is CIA Contagious Influencers of America. I'm David Sams. Today I have Demi-Leigh Tebow with me. She's our special guest. Of course, she held the title of Miss South Africa and then Miss Universe in 2017. She married former NFL quarterback Tim Tebow in 2020. And just days before their 5th anniversary, they announced they are expecting their first child. So this is going to be a fun interview, and we're going to learn so much. And of course, she is the co-founder of the Tebow Group, which raises awareness for the fight against human trafficking and supporting children with profound medical needs. So she's going to talk about that. And also, she's going to talk about some of the things in her book. And she has a great book out right now. It's a best-selling book. It's called A Crown That Lasts. You Are Not a Label. And she's gonna dive into some of those topics. There's so much to talk about in this episode, including, by the way, her personal story of surviving an attempted carjacking. And that is an amazing story. So we're going to get to that in 60 seconds. But first, this.
Hi, I'm Jackie Dorman. Are you longing to find your soulmate, but you're tired of online dating, singles ministries, blind dates, or even being set up on bad dates by well-meaning family and friends? If none of that's worked for you and you have no idea how to meet marriage-minded men or even truly Christian men who will seek you out for a lasting, committed relationship without the head games, then I invite you to join me in my free Married in 12 Months challenge. Look, there's nothing good or sacred or even noble about sitting in the waiting room. So in this challenge, I'm going to teach you why now is your time to find love. What are the lies that are holding you back? Why God wants you married, the biblical law of attraction, and the tools you need to become a bride. Don't wait any longer. Just sign up for my free Married in 12 Months challenge today at lovestories.com, and you can step into the love story that God has already written about you. That's lovestories.com.
Hey, Demi, how are you?
Got me at my tea. I'm so sorry. Hey, David, I'm so good. How are you doing?
I've already had my 5 or 6 cups this morning, so don't feel too bad.
I switched to a cup of tea now, so I'm getting rid of a lot of the caffeine, although I'm a big coffee lover.
Well, good for you. Good for you. I want to talk about your new book. And by the way, I want to tell you, your little preview video that you posted is probably one of the best preview videos I've ever seen for a book launch.
Are you serious? That is such a big compliment. Thank you.
I see hundreds of them, and it gets right to the point, and it's really just beautifully done. So congratulations on that.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that. This book has been a big labor of love for me, and it's been a great journey. I'm so thankful to finally be able to join the Authors Club, but this book has been a big part of my heart, and I truly feel like so much of what I wrote in this book, it's for my readers, I actually ended up writing to myself in a way, and I feel like the Lord's enabled me to use that as a bit of a reminder of things that I need to remind myself to live by too.
So what inspired you? What inspired you to write the book?
Let's just get down to it and call it what it is. It really was the season of failure that inspired me to write this book, David. You know, a lot of people can tell you how to chase your dreams, how to go after that corner office, how to get that degree, how to save up to buy that car, whatever that might be. But not a lot of people tell you how to handle that messy, wasted season when you have to give that thing back that you worked so hard for such a long time. And for me personally, that was my crown as Miss Universe. You know, the day came where I physically had to take that thing off my head and pass it on to, yes, the very rightful next worthy winner. But I walked off that stage feeling like I forgot something. I left something. And what I had left was the worth and the value that I had attached to something that I got to wear for a temporary period as Miss Universe. And that really is the premise of this book. It's on how we can find a lasting confidence, how we can root our identity in something that is not temporary.
There are so many folks right now so confused. There's so many mixed messages when it comes to identity and who you are and what you want to be. And there's so many comparisons to folks on social media. And I think you're writing this book at the right time. But what would you say to somebody right now who's just struggling with trying to figure out who they are?
Yeah. David, when we break it down, identity by definition just really means who we are as a person. And who we are as a person was shaped and formed by a lot of our life circumstances. Some of our relationships, some of our accolades, our achievements, etc. But the problem with that is our life circumstances are forever changing. At least in my own personal experience, I can attest to that. It's never fixed. It's never fully stable and trustworthy, right? And so, according to many studies, there's 85% of people that have said at some point in their life they have experienced to have had low self-esteem. And so the thing that I have had to learn is that if I want to root my identity in something that is more trustworthy than a roller coaster of life experiences, life circumstances, I'm going to have to find that thing. And for me personally, it has been my faith. It has been who I am in Christ, who He has created me to be, and what He has written about my life long before I was even born. And you see, the reason I chose that is because my faith is something that is trustworthy, that is fixed, that is never changing, and that is bigger than myself. And so I would just maybe ask and challenge your listeners, if you are in a season where you feel like you're stuck in that messy middle, where you feel like you are being compared to, or maybe you are comparing yourself to other people, what are the things that you are rooting your identity in? Is it perhaps in some of your life circumstances that might be a roller coaster of emotions?
You grew up in a small town in South Africa, and did you just did you just grow up with this kind of? Did you just have it together from day one?
Well, I wish I could say yes, but no, I certainly did not. Grew up in this very small town, David, so small. If you tried to swerve out for the chicken, you would have missed the whole town. We literally had one traffic light in our little town. I always say that I see myself as very fortunate and very blessed. I grew up with two sets of parents. My parents were divorced when I was really young, and they got remarried when I was relatively young too. And I grew up with four parents that really raised me as their own. I'm so thankful for my step parents, and I've had many voices that have spoken into my life and over my life, and that provided a lot of guidance for me. But no, you know what? This book really is about all the ways that I've messed up before, the ways that I did not have it all together, the ways that I completely missed the mark. And so I wish I could tell you that I've had it all together, but this book is a roadmap of navigating all of the ways that I have actually messed up before.
And tell me about that growing up, especially as a teen, and trying to figure out who you were and trying to figure out how to best represent, for example, your country. I know you had a passion for that.
Yes, getting to be able to wear the Miss South Africa title and getting to be a representative for women all over my home country, South Africa, was truly a great, great honor, one of the greatest honors of my life. But, David, it was also a really big responsibility. and a responsibility that I took on with great pleasure. Getting to compete at Miss Universe and representing South Africa on an international stage was, a dream come true. And I wanted to be able to not just make myself proud, but make my country proud. And when I ended up winning Miss Universe, it wasn't just a victory for myself, but it was a victory for every young girl, young boy that have ever had a dream. And with a lot of hard work and a lot of determination, not everything, but a lot can be possible.
And why is it that you find part of your passion is about giving women a voice?
David, in 2017, I was stopped at a red traffic light by multiple armed men, and that was a very horrific incident. I don't know what my perpetrator's goal was. I just knew that it wasn't good. I ended up getting away from that situation. I actually write a whole chapter about this incident in my book, and I'm thankful that I got away from that situation. But that situation served as a catalyst to me learning about so many of the evils that we face in this world. And one of them is the fight against human trafficking. In 2017, when this incident happened, I would have probably told you that I thought human trafficking only happens in other countries far away, not here. It's only a Liam Neeson movie, right? Taken. But we learn and we know that the statistics tell us differently. There's an estimated 50 million people that is trapped in the evil of human trafficking right now as we speak. And when I got away from that incident, David, I knocked and I called for help on multiple windows. It was broad daylight, 5:30 in the afternoon, but nobody would stop to help me. Not one single person. And eventually later, as I kept running down that avenue, a young girl, she was 19 years old, stopped and she opened her car door and she led me to safety. And I'm so thankful for her, not only that she led me to safety that day, but that she changed a big part of the trajectory of my life to encouraging me to not ever turn a blind eye or pretend not to hear, pretend not to see, just like all of the other cars did, but to be that one car that is willing to be interrupted to help somebody in need. And that incident has really served as the catalyst to me having a heart for women all over the world and children all over the world, and using the community and the platform that I have to be able to impact lives for the better.
And why is it that you think about it? Why? So here you're running down the road trying to get away from these armed guys, and you're pounding on car windows. Nobody will let you in their car. What do you think that? What do you think that is? Why were people ignoring you?
There could be many reasons for that. Unfortunately, David, in my home country of South Africa, the crime rate is unfortunately very high, and there's a lot of people that find themselves in severe desperation and very vulnerable situations, and a lot of that leads to criminal activities, unfortunately. I remember growing up in South Africa. We have been advised not to necessarily stop and help people on the side of the road, because that might be a setup and you might get involved in something that you do not want to be involved with. In a way, I understand people's fear, for not wanting to get involved, for not wanting to be interrupted in that way. But at the same sense, I am so grateful for that brave young woman that was willing to be interrupted. I think a lot of people could also just happen going about their day and not wanting to give the time of day, not wanting to veer off of the course, off of the path that they are on, to give of their time to somebody in need.
And how have you been able to overcome fear?
That is a constant work of progress. I think, fear and failure share a lot of the same characteristics. Um, and personally, for me, in that incident, I realized that it actually it doesn't equate to weakness to ask for help, David. And that's something that, as a victim's mentality that I very quickly went into trying to look for someone to blame, and the easiest person to blame was myself. I remember feeling like weak, like I had somehow brought this incident over myself, like I had done something to cause this, which we all know, of course, that wasn't the case and isn't true. But it wasn't until I got to go and seek professional help. There's a difference between PTSD and ASD, acute stress disorder. And if you are able to treat that acute stress disorder shortly after a traumatic incident, it can be a great preventative measure. I have learned, according to the experts, to prevent something like PTSD from occurring. So with a lot of counseling, surrounding myself with loved ones, and ultimately knowing the ultimate truth and knowing that the enemy wants to corner us, wants to isolate us, and wants to put us in the darkness. My pastor, Joby, at the Church of 1122 always says, if we want to pick a fight with the enemy in darkness and alone, we're likely to get our butts kicked.
So what was it? How did you go from victim to victor? And what role has your faith played in that process?
I mean, absolutely the biggest role. You know, I think that the biggest thing that really helped me was using that incident that you could have seen as pretty painful. And as time has passed, I've seen that trial in my life was actually turned into a triumph for God's glory. And that pain that I experienced was used for purpose. And, David, it's so easy to isolate ourselves and to look inward. But I have learned that when we go and serve someone, um, indirectly, we are being served. And the Unbreakable campaign that I started and founded shortly after that incident, a couple months later, where I partnered with field experts to go and bring the same skills and resources that I was so thankful and grateful to have been able to receive prior to that incident, was very fulfilling. And it led me to understanding that this is not an incident that purely happened to only me, but that there are many, many people around the world that face similar situations. And I named Unbreakable, my women's conference, Unbreakable, because, we might be rattled, we might be shaken, but together we can be unbreakable.
So when you are rattled, and I know that you probably come across a lot of women in your conferences who have been rattled or are going through something. How do you help them get to the other side of that? What are the elements that they can look for? What are the things that they can do to get across that bridge?
Yes, David, I am no field expert. I can share my testimony and my story, and I make that very clear because it's very important to me to truly be helpful to somebody. And I know that I can't necessarily always be the greatest help. And so I'm so thankful to be able to serve on multiple boards within the US and abroad. The Tim Tebow Foundation's survivor care arm here in the United States for survivors of human trafficking is called Her Song. And I'm so grateful to be a part of that organization. We follow a complete trauma-informed care model that is a long-term restoration program for survivors of human trafficking. And, David, the sad part is if even just 1% of human trafficking victims become survivors today here in the United States, we will not have enough safe shelter to be able to provide for those survivors. And so it is our mission to be able to serve as many as possible with our long-term restoration program, that goes from an emergency phase to a long-term healing phase to a transition phase. And at the end of this program, we don't like to celebrate a graduation. We like to celebrate it as a milestone ceremony, because graduation a lot of times means goodbye. But with Her Song and with the Tim Tebow Foundation, we are a family. And we like to stick together and walk a path together as a family. So we get to celebrate the milestones of how far we have come and how far we still get to go.
You just mentioned Tim. And by the way, Tim is one of just a handful of people who've actually received our Contagious Influencers Award a few years ago. So Okay, so you mentioned Tim, and speaking of identity, what's it like? Part of your identity as being Tim's wife.
I love that so much, David. I grew up in South Africa, and, you can hear the messed up accent. And in South Africa, we actually love to watch rugby and cricket. So I unfortunately did not grow up knowing any American sports whatsoever. I now only know enough football jokes to kind of keep a conversation. So I was like, if I can't beat him, I better join him. So I love a good football Saturday. Tim truly is my confidant. He is my ultimate sounding board, and I'm so thankful for our relationship and our marriage and the life that we get to live together, but most importantly, the purpose that we get to live out together.
That's got to be pretty cool. So when you two compare notes about where you are and where you want to go, where what you want to be when you grow up, so to speak. How much say do you have?
Oh, yeah. I mean, David, it's a partnership. I think we truly view our marriage as a partnership. And so I don't think it's about who says what when, but we love supporting each other. And like I said, we are each other's sounding board, and we love being able to do life together. Something that I've learned, and I write about this in my book so much, especially since so much of the messaging is based on identity. Marriage and my plan and purpose for my life is not solely dependent on my marriage, but my marriage is a vessel, one of the vessels that I get to use to live out my God-given purpose.
Oh, that's pretty cool. So if how long have you been married now?
4 years going on 5.
Okay, going on 5 years. So, um, what do you think your life would have been like if you had not gotten married 5 years ago and you were still single today? What do you think? What would be the road that you'd be on right now?
Um, I I have no idea, David. I That's a total hypothetical, and I don't know. I just trust that it would have been, whatever God has planned for my life. However, am so thankful that I got to meet my life partner 6 years ago, at this point, and that we've been able to walk this road together, because it truly is a blessing to be able to share my life and my heart and my dreams with somebody that I love so much.
So it's pretty cool that God had a plan before you knew what the plan was,
Yeah.
and when you think about that today, you had no idea who Tim was a few years ago. You had no idea what football was. You had no idea what baseball was, apparently. And here, God had this big plan for you. So, let's look toward the future here. Um, what would be a surprise that God could that could pop up in your life that you were totally not expecting to happen in the next year or two?
Wow, that's a great question. I am at the moment so focused on the book that I've written and launching that. Finally joining the Authors Club, which has been so exciting, and I'm so thankful for. It's been such a fulfilling journey. So right now, that is my focus, and I think one of the greatest blessings that I think I could probably pray and wish for is just for the blessing in the ministry that we get to do together and the people that we get to serve. I think that would truly be one of the greatest blessings. There are so many people in need and so many people that we get to serve, yet there are so many people that are still unreached in so many parts of the world. And being able to reach more people and impact more lives and fight for people in their deepest, darkest hour of need would truly be the greatest blessing.
So, for somebody watching right now who thinks that God has forgotten about them, that they don't really know what their purpose is.
Mm,
They're a little bit lost right now. They just feel like they're just a number. What
yeah.
words of encouragement could you give her?
You know, David, in Psalm 139, 13-14, the Lord writes, and he says that, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. And I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made, and your works are wonderful." Sorry, and that's not the Lord writing that, that's the author writing that. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. And if you're listening to this, I hope that you know that that is a reference to you. In the Bible, we learn that humanity is the crown of creation. That means you are the crown of creation, and that his works are wonderful. And that means you are wonderful, and that you have been created for a specific purpose. And even though that might not seem clear right now, I want to urge you and encourage you to get closer, to draw closer to your Creator, and to understand truly what it is that he created you to be and who he created you to be. And before we get to do that, we need to understand who he is. And throughout scripture, we learn that the Lord of this universe is trustworthy, and therefore his character can be trusted.
So in closing, what do you hope to accomplish with this book?
David, my true prayer and hope for this book is that each reader gets to go and claim their true identity, that they will be able to go and build a lasting confidence, and that they will be able to walk with confidence in their God-given purpose.
Thanks again, Demi. You can follow her on socials at Demi Tebow and check out her book, A Crown That Lasts, now available everywhere. This has been CIA, Contagious Influencers of America, from the producers of Keep the Faith. Do check out our website at KeepTheFaith.com. And by the way, we have a live stream now of Keep the Faith 24/7. So you can listen to our program right there at KeepTheFaith.com. Also available on the iHeart app and the Odyssey app. So do check it out. Just when you're searching on iHeart, just put in Keep the Faith Radio. And for all of our Contagious Influencers podcast episodes, check out ContagiousInfluencers.com. Until next time, I'm David Sams. Go out there and live that life in living color, because it sure is a heck of a lot more interesting than living in black and white. I'll see you next time.